It's time for another one of my 10 flicks that had a big impact on me. We are on day 4. So far I've shared Amadeus, American Graffiti, On the Waterfront. Well, here is another all-time favorite of mine, and it's based on a not so great book. It's one of the few cases where I will say the book is subpar compared to the movie, and that is A Room with a View. And I have read quite a few E.M. Forster books, and I have enjoyed many of them. But I will agree with a lot of literary scholars would say that it's not a strong book. And the movie, on the other hand, cinematically is gorgeous. It doesn't hurt that the landscape is the beautiful Italian countryside, and when it's not the Italian countryside, it's Florence, you know. I mean, you can't go wrong with either. You've got the Arno and all the gorgeous Piazza Signoria and all just the buildings, the plazas, everything about it. And then one thing that E.M. Forster does really well, and I feel like this film's strength is this cast and of characters is like something out of, Canterbury Tales. There's so much personality here. Even the names are interesting. You got Lucy Honeychurch and George Emerson are lovers. Will they ever agree to admit their love for each other? And of course, oh, poor Charlotte, I guess it's her cousin, who gets in the middle and muddles everything up, but tries her best to fix things and wrong those right, or right those wrongs, I guess would be the proper way. You have, who was the other character that I love? Oh, Eleanor Lavish. Like, what a name! Eleanor Lavish. That's such a perfect name. And who knew at the time that I was watching all these people who would become such an important part of movie making down the road. For me, if the only thing that came out of this was Daniel Day-Lewis, to quote Hamilton, it would be enough. It really would. It would be enough, because Daniel Day-Lewis is quite the find, and he had already done My Beautiful Laundrette, but I didn't know him from that. And so I saw him in this, and I immediately was struck by him. Yes, I was, gaga for Julian Sand, not just because of the naked bathing scene, but which I have no problem with either. But the most important aspect of this film, aside from, yes, finding one of my favorite actors of all time, Daniel Day-Lewis, was that it inspired me to want to see the world. I grew up in a house that was about travel, but travel domestically. There wasn't really talk beyond going down to Mexico once. There wasn't really talk about seeing the world. It just wasn't. It wasn't something that came up. I wouldn't call my family, really thinking about other parts of the world. It was more focused on the sights in America and the news in America. So I didn't have international thoughts when it came to literature and music and movies and travel. And I attribute to things like discovering the Beatles and getting into some of the really British cinema more than anything, and world literature and British literature from particular eras that made me start to look around and get excited about other places, that other places might be worth going to see. And then, of course, once I got into humanities in college and started to really study paintings in Italy and in Spain and in France, I started to find architecture and sculpture and painting so fascinating that I knew I had to see. I had to go elsewhere and see other things. And that combination, as well as a love of history, just motivated me to want to see the world. And it was a film like this that also lit a fire in my belly. And so when I had an opportunity when I was 19, and at the urging of one of my friends, I pursued going on a humanities study tour. So I really feel like this movie had a big impact on plans later to see other things and to, let my imagination roam beyond the United States border, So that to me is a beautiful thing. And A Room with a View is worth seeing.